What is consciousness? And what does it mean to truly live life awake? Welcome to Clarity to Consciousness, a podcast where we transcend beyond stereotypes, embracing a deeper understanding. I'm your host, Kristen Griffiths, a fellow seeker on this path. Join me on a journey as we dive into conversations with experts, unraveling stigmas, and expanding our awareness to something profound. This is your invitation to open your mind with me as together we bring clarity to the fascinating complexities of human consciousness.
Well, thank you for having me. Wonderful introduction. I really appreciate it. What led me to the field of holistic wellness? Well, that is a good question. I guess it's part of my family, and I was brought up in somewhat of an alternative family. I feel like it wasn't much different than anybody else's life. I wouldn't be able to say that it was abnormal in any way, but we did a lot of visits to chiropractic offices and massage therapists, and we knew people in alternative practices. So I guess there is an alternativeness to it. But I feel like it was a life purpose in a way for me to be working in a field of service and of wellness and maybe alternative. But I think that in my life, I was drawn to these different ways and things of the mind and of the spirit, partly because of my family and what they did, which is this business, life energy research, life energy publications, and also just part of what it is, the way that I am, part of my nature. So I went out on the road for myself and did my own travels and kind of kept all of the history of myself isolated in some ways, and found that I started studying the universe once I got out of school. And that led me to a lot of different places, a lot of mystery in myself that I wanted to uncover. I wanted to learn more about myself and what made me tick and what was this human experience that I was in. So I found myself studying lots of different things like astrology and numerology, practices that kind of delve into the self and work towards some form of self-discovery. It wasn't until years after, I would say 2005, for me, when I started to study SAF and come to realize that it was a system much like these other systems that allowed you to peer into yourself and learn more about yourself and uncover these hidden parts and mysteries within us. What I didn't know is that my dad was very prolific writer in this field, and he had written exhaustively about Hermetic wisdom and consciousness and the physics behind these alternative metaphysical practices. I didn't know to what extent he was involved in it, because I guess I was too close, maybe. But when I started to read and learn about the system, I found that I had found a system that already had a lot of these answers that I was looking for and wasn't finding in these really old systems like astrology, like Hermetic sciences that are already written about. I wasn't finding an answer that connected the awareness of now to what was thought back then. in the ancient days. So yeah, I think that is kind of what brought me into it. And then I studied Reiki. I studied Chi Tsang, which is a modality of Thai massage, massage therapy. Did massage professionally for several years, and it's just something that I always wanted to practice and to learn, and of course to learn more about the body and anatomy and all of that. So yeah, it's been a lifelong pursuit and passion for me to understand and learn more about the self, and of course to bring that to others in a way that that benefits humanity at large, let's say. Well, mainly the reins were passed from my father, who was the main researcher and discoverer of this system, who put the different pieces together to make a comprehensive methodology to be able to work. He passed away in '89, and that passed the business on to my mom, who wasn't sure exactly what she was going to do with it for about 10 years, when she decided, let's see if anybody's using this system anymore. And she put it online in 1999, made it a web presence, and found that there was people that were hungry for more and wanted to keep learning and wanted to expand their fields as well, to let it go into their fields. So she ran the business until her passing, and which was last year. And then it fell to me. It fell to me a little earlier than that. I think in 2014. She had decided, or we had decided, that I was going to take over. So I shadowed a lot of what she was doing. I still feel like I am a student because a lot of this is out of my field. It's not something that I spent a lot of time studying. Nutrition, homeopathy, herbalism, a lot of these different things are not like kind of how I think and the way that I approach SAF, which is okay. And SAF is the self-awareness formulas. It's this method to unlock and peer into the mysteries of yourself. Sounds like high holy, but it's very simple and very easy to do. And I really approach it more in a concept method, or in the way of approach that's a little bit more ethereal versus concrete, nutritional, mineral balancing, that sort of thing, which others do. And I completely empower them to do it and will help them out if they're studying the SAF system to learn more and how they can use it in that way. So I took it over in that way, and the idea that I would still study and learn more and more and more, because there's just so much to learn. Again, my dad did a lot of writing, so there's tons of books. He also did hours and hours and hours, hundreds of hours of taped seminars, some video, mostly audio, that I've poured over for a couple of years now. I've been listening to them fairly steadily, just to garner a little bit more of the behind the scenes, the higher levels of the system, which are become very heady and physical and scientific, and really just to get a better hold on the whole system, which it's just a very large system that can attach to different modalities, and it can be difficult to figure out how it's applied. And so I've just really tried to find a way that I can grasp it, and then, of course, put it across in such a way that you'll understand it, and your audience will kind of understand what I'm trying to say. I believe that there are pieces of it that could be found in other methods and modalities. That what my dad did was sew things together. So he took the Greek philosophers, he took the physicists, he took the homeopathy practitioners, early medical doctors before there were the AMA. he blended this wisdom of these sciences together and other systems as well to try and make a comprehensive modern approach to health and wellness in such a way that you can do it yourself. So you can grab the reins of your life yourself and take control of your life in these different aspects, the physical, the mental, emotional, and the spiritual, so that you're empowered in such a way to be able to live a different life than you seem to be living now. You can start to control yourself and therefore control your environment. So there was a lot of systems that came into play that were definitely, I feel like, come from other places, but they're all wed into this very basic system, a concept of having somebody there as a sounding board, an interpreter of the outcome of the formulas, and the recipient, or the participant, the one that is actually doing the questionnaires to come up with the outcome. So there's a reader and a recipient to that. But there doesn't have to be a reader if you're adept at doing the interpretations yourself, if that makes any sense. I'll do my best. He took a method of metabolic processes, mapped that out, and then overlaid it with his radiation studies that were based on the studies that were done when they dropped the bombs in Japan, and how they did basic what does nuclear energy do to the body, and he blended these two different ratios together in such a way that came up with this series of numbers. And about I hear different numbers depending on what I'm listening to or reading in the material, but basically 1980 was the groundbreaking time. It was after 3 Mile Island. There was a very large scare for nuclear energy fallout in the Pennsylvania area, and that's where my parents lived, which is outside of Philadelphia. And in his words, clinics started popping up all over. People were getting really interested in their own health and their own wellness, and what was this radiation, and what was it going to do to them? So he became empowered and created this questionnaire that he could go to clinics, have the clients do the questionnaire, come up with a series of numbers that would relate to different points in time in their life or different aspects of a current issue that has and all relates. So because of these, this method of this concept, I should say, of life kind of attacking us and us fighting back constantly, we get to look in these numbers at how we're worn out and how we're doing in our battle. And we come with an issue, and these questionnaires kind of pick out where we feel our main issues are and puts them in the right places in this chain. And it shows us how we are doing. How are we? Do we have asthma? Do we have these different triggers based on how we've been living life and the radiational forces that are outside of us and how they're coming in? So in doing that mapping, we're able to kind of peer into these things that we may not have even known were happening. As energy seems to be in a sequential process, they relate to other things. So we can kind of draw lines and connect dots. That is the method of uncovering. It's a simple questionnaire initially, and that allows you to, by your own design and your own honesty, come up with a series of numbers that will give you highlighted areas where the radiational forces have congealed in your body, basically, and caused some form of stuck energy. After that, then there are means to alleviate the pressure of those points in time that have the stuck energy. And that goes into a lot of the sewing together different remedies and solutions and modalities to open up and clear that energy, to allow that energy to flow freely back into the current time. And that goes into the concept that, something that I've been mentally trying to image for myself is if we can envision ourselves in consciousness, we can use that term, as a bundle of light energy from conception moving forward in time. And as we experience things that are traumatic or impactful in some way, some of that energy, the bundle of cords of light that are coursing through in time, that are us, kind of get gobbed up, and the light doesn't go through the rest of that channel. The channel may still exist, or likely does, but it's stuck. There's a dam put in. What SAF does is says, hey, look, there's a dam there. Let's open that up and let's get that energy flowing back to the present. Let's get it out of that past point in time and bring it to the front where it belongs. And a lot of that is the awareness. We don't realize that even did anything long-term to us, whatever it may be. And an example for myself would be stubbing my toe on a sidewalk. When I was very little, I stubbed my toe pretty good. Mostly I tripped over a crack in the sidewalk. And what I didn't realize for the longest time, until more recently, when I started looking into this and working on this, was that what that caused me to do is to step on all the cracks that I saw. Most specifically, the join points. And now, what kind of energy am I wasting doing that? Maybe not a lot, but there's definitely a process happening, kind of like a computer program that I've got running in the background, distracting the energy. And so it's not freely available. Now, maybe for survival, that's a good thing in some cases, but other cases, it's a waste of energy that's badly placed, and it's a process. And that's a very simple one. But many of them, how we relate to other people, can also go into how we relate to other people beyond those people. And continually, we have different relationships in our life that we may want to have better relationships in our life, and we're running a program that's not allowing us to do that. So what SAF does is goes and shines light on a spot where we have covered up and lost our energy in that spot. We have a belief that's been set up around that. That's a dam. It's keeping that flow from happening. So we just go in and we find triggers to open that dam up and release the energy forward to the present. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Basically, anything from the outside and maybe even in the inside that is coming at us is pushing into us. And what we look to do, an example would be somebody has a relationship with somebody, and that person's name, let's say it's Paul and Mary, and Mary breaks up with Paul, and Paul moves forward in time, and a year later you say, hey, how's Mary? And instead of the year prior when he said, Mary's great. I love Mary. She's wonderful, great energy. Next year, no, I hate her. I don't want anything to do with her, right? In fact, anytime I hear the name Mary, it triggers me and I have a response, whether I like it or not. And so what we look to do is create a non-blockage there, so that when you hear Mary's name and the person, you go, oh, I don't know what she's doing. I don't care. When you hear the word Mary, you also don't have a response to it. So our key is to not have a running program that's causing us to have a reaction. So yes, that's basically it. And I've heard the dis-ease my whole life. That's like my dad's time, and he was very big on words. I don't know that he ever used the dis-ease. He would just go right at the disease, the disease process. He was a symptomatologist, and you'll see it in the SAF terminology. It doesn't mean you have the disease. It means you have the energetic patterns that are showing that same kind of process in you. You may not have, I think the good example is hypoglycemia at a certain time. There was a big thing where everybody was hypoglycemic, per everybody saying that, right? Oh, you must be hypoglycemic. And then it was like, they were like, 1 in 5 people have it. And when in reality, like 1 in a couple thousand would actually have hypoglycemia. Other people were having the symptoms of it, something very similar to or akin to what hypoglycemia is. And so that is a lot of what the coded words are. You have hypoglycemic symptoms. Doesn't mean that you have it. So it's not a diagnostic tool in that sense. It's telling you that there's patterns here, and there's ways to work with symptoms of hypoglycemia or symptoms of whatever it may be. So dis-ease is a means that allows us a little bit more of a PC approach to working with wellness, and keeps us safe, so to speak, when we're talking about things. In his day, he didn't care about that. And it did get him in trouble because he was like, he was an old world guy. You know what I mean? He just was not going to, he wanted people to say the right words when they needed to say them, so that they had the right thoughts when they were thinking about things, and everything would line up correctly. If it was serious, you needed to be serious about it. And if it wasn't, laugh it off. No big deal. Yeah.
Appreciate everything that you're saying. In our pre-interviews, it was taking me a little bit to understand it. I actually had the opportunity to take the SAF assessment for a physical ailment that I was experiencing, and something that had been coming up for me was an issue with my stomach. I am starting to notice that I get certain stomach issues when I eat certain things. My stomach balloons out. I'm having feelings around that stomach area. And so that's what I based my assessment on. And lo and behold, when I got it back, you and I had kind of digested the test. And what we found out was the quote unquote central issue was in fact something that aligned to the stomach, the core issue, and maybe I'll let you explain it better. But and this was the middle code on the chain of codes that came back, and that's a significant. And so that relates to a time period in my life where and it's the time period of between 18 and 2022. So you figure that's like college age. When I was in college, and during that time, as you do, you go out a lot, maybe you drink a lot, you're a college student, you're going out, you're partying. I myself always had this very odd phobia of other people throwing up and getting sick. And so like all of these things relate to the stomach. And so what we found with this tool is it's sort of a clue as to how you can start to relate ideas and perhaps start to think through a time in your life when you were affected and how it could be affecting you down the road. And
Yeah.
and you helped me figure that out. So I would love to hear from your perspective anything else that you want to share based off of what I had taken.
Well, and that's absolutely correct. And I will say that it wasn't me; it was you. This is a self-awareness formula, and it was your input, and all I did was help you to interpret what came out. And that is the beauty of it. It's 100% your input, so it's all about you, which makes it a fantastic tool to use because it allows you to say, hey, I got this issue. Let me run a chain on it, what we call running a chain, and see what comes up based on how this charge of this thing, whatever it may be, stomach issue, let's see what I can find. Now, what it is the more you do it for yourself, the more you get used to seeing certain patterns and certain relations. And what you need to figure out when you're doing this work for yourself is that one thing does relate to another. You just got to figure out how. How does this thing that happened here relate to the next point? And once you start to do that, you're moving the energy up. You're moving it forward. You're moving it out of that spot where it was at and seeing how it related to the next one. You're drawing, kind of like pushing toothpaste in the tube. You're drawing it forward and slowly trying to smooth out the knots of the past, using some massage nomenclature there. Work out those knots. And in doing that, it just allows you more clarity to your life experience. And for me, in my studies and shamanism as well, one of the things that comes up is it says that you, at the end of your life, you will be called to see your whole life. And the more aware of it you are, the more benefit you will have in the next place that you go. The more mystery, the more unknowns, the more surprises, and the less tools and awareness you'll have in the next place, wherever that may be, whatever that may be. And we're talking maybe consciousness, if it migrates somewhere else. What we're trying to do is create a stronger awareness of self so that we are here and now more in control and command. We know where we're giving energy out for benefit, for whatever benefit it may be. And we're having more command over our whole self. So when you have these experiences when you were younger, they're still you, and it still has an effect on you at this point. It just morphs and changes because as you've gone, that thing has related to other things and created this network and a web of sorts that gobs up more energy as it goes. And so that's basically it. I mean, one thing relates to another. And how does it do that in relation to your current issues? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very profound system in that I was very happy that it did point to the actual issue. But if you're honest with it, it will do that because it's a self assessment. It's a self questionnaire. I'm not over there hovering, telling you how to answer those questions, and so that's the benefit of it. Is that it's really like a personal thing for you. And when you tell me stomach at 18, yes, one of the things I will think of possibly is alcohol or something of that nature because we're hitting that time period. Where were you at when you were 18? Most people were, free and drinking or doing something.
Yeah.
But it could have been anything. It could be you got in a car accident and something hit you in the stomach really hard. Didn't puncture, but hit you in the stomach. Mm-hmm. And that, whether you are aware of it or not, it may have only had pain for a week. But moving forward, an analogy I like to use for trauma and things like that is if you can envision us as a tree, just like trees grow as a sapling, and then maybe you cut a branch off of the tree and you watch this knot where that thing, and always there's this knot right where you cut that branch off. You can't ever get rid of that knot. Or add a rope and it, absorbs it, and, it morphs the whole tree's positioning and the way it grows. As the rings go, if you were to take cross sections, you'd be able to see all these different things that happen through its life. Oh, look, a fire. All these things are there. It's part of the tree. So it's part of you. Whatever you went through, whatever you did, whatever happened to you, however you acted on things, all those things are part of who you are. and it's in your control to take control. And that is one of the 4 methods that we like to say of healing, is that of control and rest, to find that still point. And then so by control, by allowing to, by taking the reins of your life and taking control of the wildness of it, and living a life that you're in command of. Yeah.
It's a wonderful tool to help with awareness and give you maybe more information than you may have had before. Once someone takes a test like this, then what's the next step? What's the goal afterwards?
Well, in your regard, where you just did one chain, the key will be to begin to observe your current space within the few weeks around the time period that you run the chain. Depends on what the situation is. But in your case, I think I said you just observe to see if any of those things come up, if you're getting the energy popping up into the present time, and then to observe it, kind of cage it and say, oh, look, there it is, and not allow it to override you in some way. When you're doing remedy results with chains, a lot of times you will get a reaction. And the goal at the end is to get an aha, a free energy moving, a new experience, a new view on the world and of that situation most specifically, so that, and then you stop all of the procedures to try and create that, because you've created it, so you're good. Typically, you'd want to acknowledge that it happened. So even if you get the aha, you need to acknowledge there's been a change. And you have to reinforce the fact that there was an adjustment. Because we're working in a very nebulous zone of consciousness, you have to follow certain procedures to help impact the positive. And if you get positive results out of something and clear energy, you want to acknowledge it as best you can in some way. In a group situation, you say, good job. Very simple, right? Get the audience cheers and they clap. They go, oh, you're doing something right. You'll know if you're not, right? And so that you want to reinforce it with some kind of acknowledgement. So if, for an example, if you have eye problems and you do the questionnaire on the eye problems. Prior to that, you may want to have an eye test that says, I've got eye problems. Not just something, I don't know if I have eye problems. Okay, I have a test that says I do. Then you get the questionnaire, and then you work on trying to resolve this issue of whatever the eye issue is. Then you go get a test again. Then you compare your notes and you say, aha, then that would be your reinforcement, your acknowledgement that something has transpired that is positive in the positive. And that may need to happen several times, but that would be the procedure for something like an eye issue,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's important to say, these tests are not supposed to replace medical care or necessarily
right.
any of those things. It's really just a tool to give you more information.
Yeah.
And help you resolve some of the issues that you're finding. So, and I would love to hear what other people have experienced. But for me, what I'm doing with this information is I'm starting to think back to my past, starting to think through other situations that, give me some clarity as to what this could be. And then I also hope to work with a hypnotist to start working through some of these fears and phobias I have, all around having to do with the stomach, and hopefully clear up some of this energy that's been a problem for me, while also going to a doctor to see if there's something that I'm eating now that I'm allergic to, like gluten, for example.
Right. I have a sugar battle that I'm going into. Like I'm in a war with myself over eating sugar. And so I have to uncover why I have these draws to sugar, and I know them, and some of them I acquiesce to. So I have to say, why am I acquiescing to sugar? Why am I allowing this to happen? Why do I continually do this? So I have to dig deeper and deeper and deeper into the situation that removes sugar from the equation completely. What's going on? Why am I compulsive in this regard? And so you just kind of start to uncover behavior. Why am I behaving in such a way? And that may take me out into my DNA strands. That may take me into a different time for myself. And that's just wherever it goes is where you have to go with it. And I think that is to be expected with a lot of things when you really want to dig in. Why is this happening now? It may be something that is recurrent, that is part of the heredity, part of the behavior pattern set forth 6 generations up or whatever it may be. And you can uncover that and you can resolve that in your current time. You'll find that in hypnosis as well when you do regressions. If you get popped out into a different timeline of yourself, you may find that you're having a malady from a different timeline coming into this current life. A lot of hypnotists don't do that, but you can resolve many things based on current life experiences. It's just very good track record with hypnotism for sure.
Well, that's amazing. And I promise that I will give you my results once I can continue to work through my stomach issues that I find, and I will be sure to share them for the benefit of everybody else. So I'd be happy to share. But this has been so interesting. And I know you have other projects too. You have the Institute for Modern Holistic Alchemy. You have your podcast. I wanted to make sure that you had a few minutes to share anything you'd like on either of those projects.
Yeah, sure. The Institute for Modern Holistic Alchemy is my brainchild as a way to try and get out the content in an online format as best as possible. In this modern age where we don't want to have books, which is crazy to me, but people don't want to have books. Our original course is 5 books that you get sent to you. It's a correspondence course. And we don't have a good graduation rate, I think, because it's a lot of reading and people don't like to do that. One of the things that we're looking to do this fall is to put in a really like a mini course that'll really tune you up, get you the concepts and ideas of what SAF is, because the more knowledge you have of the system, the more it allows you to do the work of the chains. The more you're able to translate these numbers easily, eloquently into a sentence, to be able to build a sentence as to what the issues are, the faster the resolutions come, the easier the energy is to flow. So doing a mini course, that's something we're going to be doing this fall as a coach program, so that the person can be an SAF coach and they can work with either people that we get off of our website that are wanting chains read, or their own people. And then, of course, we have a practitioner course, which is a clinical course. It teaches you to work with clients and do the infrared scans and all of this. But it also is going to allow me to break the books down. So we have 14 books that are published, to break them down into courses so that they can be digested and people can experience it. The goal mainly is to extend SAF into the world so that people start using it more, are more aware of it. Self-knowledge it allows us to be more tolerant and to be more knowledgeable about the things going on around us so that we're not so reactive. If you look at the world right now, you see a lot of big guns and missiles pointed at each other. Let's try and figure out how we can stop that. And I think through self-awareness and self-realization, that is probably the only way that we can advance our culture through consciousness, so that we put the guns down. We don't necessarily point our biggest weapons at each other, and we give ourselves some space amongst all this pressure that we're under. So that's the idea, is to extend through the Institute more learning, more awareness. And then with the Holistic Monitor, the podcast, I have mainly been doing interviews with practitioners. I will be doing more deep dives into life energy research and life energy publications in the coming months, probably the next season. This is the start of season 9 coming up. So probably into season 9 and 10, I'll be doing a lot more deep dives into the system. It's hard to go too deep because you got to have everybody coming along with you. And if they step into it and they're like, oh, what are you talking about? So it can be very, you can get lost in the weeds really easy if you're not following along, 1 through 24, as it would be. But yeah, so those are basically some of the projects that I've been working on in relation to SAF and life energy, as well as just modernizing the whole system and trying to get some of the unpublished works out. The Secrets of Time Travel is one of the series of books that I'm looking to do. It's like a 9-tape series plus written material that I want to put out in some form.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, very cool.
Back on for that one.
Yeah. Evolution of Modern Man. We have old material that was, half done. So there's a lot of unfinished work. There is a bit of a call out that if anybody is in the wellness arena and doing nutrition, doing mineral balancing, that I would love to collaborate to learn a little bit more about the subjects that I don't know about, especially if I have partial work that I really don't know how to fill in the details. That can be very useful for me as well. But there's a lot of different methods that are locked in time. They went away with the old computer system, and that's unfortunate. I did see one of the computer systems for sale on eBay, actually, which is very interesting. This is from like 1980. No later than 1989. That was $20,000 for the system.
Wow.
Didn't include the monitor or the floppy disks, which were the programs. It was just the gun, the infrared reader, which I have some old ones here, and no programs. And without the programs, none of it runs. So we currently have 30 of the programs on the internet. So when you get trained, you're able to go into these and create reports and do your own chains and run reports for remedies like Vita Nutrition and homeopathy, acupressure, acupuncture. And of course, the SAF method of processing as well, which is basically creating sentences out of the different numbering patterns and things to avoid, all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. It sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah, it's very overwhelming. And this has been an issue. I was listening to a sales tape that my dad had done, I think 1985 or somewhere around thereabouts. And the same thing. He was saying the exact same thing. Salespeople have a lot of trouble trying to sell this system because it is so broad that the swath is so wide that it's hard to kind of like take a pinpoint and figure out where to isolate it. So it was later in his life that he wanted to get away from the clinics and make this more of a everyday person system. And so we carry that forward as one of the goals, is that we want to try and make this available to everybody as inexpensively as we can make it happen. So the books are fairly inexpensive. You can pick up the SAF Simplified book, which has just about everything in it that you need to know for a primer. And it is what we use for our level 1 course and what we'll be using it for the SAF coach course coming up. It allows you to run chains. We have that for free online. If you have the book, you can start to learn the numbers, the system, the concepts, and a lot of this science of life energy, which seems to be a mystery to a lot of people until they realize, oh no, this is stuff they've known forever. Since the alchemists, we've known about this stuff. And it's written down in these books. Yeah.
Oh, well, Nic, this has been such an incredible conversation. Thank you so much for this. I want to ask you a few questions that I ask all my guests.
Okay.
And the first is, reflecting on our conversation today, what is one key takeaway you'd like our listeners to remember about consciousness and the work that you're doing?
Consciousness grows the more we are aware of it. The lack of awareness definitely doesn't take away from consciousness, but the strength of that ability to harness and be aware gives us a greater level of consciousness. And potentially, again, you get out of the swamps and you're rising up. And typically in our lives, we're in this vehicle and we're cruising around and we're experiencing things and we're taking it very personally and we see it as all there is. And I feel like that is a trap, as that is unfortunately part of this finite experience of our senses. And consciousness is something that seems to go beyond the finite. So when we build greater awareness of our situation currently in this finite vehicle, we allow ourselves a greater breadth and understanding of the abilities of our consciousness and how great it can be. So hopefully a takeaway would be that a method of learning about thyself will allow you to harness more of your consciousness, become more aware of it, and ride that out till the end of your days.
And if someone is just starting their journey toward a deeper understanding of consciousness, what advice would you give them?
Well, the initial advice that everybody's given is to know thyself. So not knowing is a veil and is a shadow. And it is the quote unquote shadow work that you need to do, which is to uncover those places that are hidden, that have created the you who you are, that has brought you to where you are right now. To uncover those things is only to uncover yourself. And what it is that we shouldn't be afraid of it. We should be empowered by it, because now we are here in a conscious place where we are in command. We're not controlled by those things anymore. We can look back with sober consciousness and experience it in such a way that it's not going to overtake us. The key and goal is that non-reactive state. It can't have control over you. I mean, it can, and it probably does if you're just starting off. But the key is to remove its control over you so that you have control over it. The more that you're able to do that, and it doesn't have to be like all day long you're thinking about your whole life, but when you do the work, those files are readily accessible for you to access should you need it. Should a situation arise again, you'll know that there's a sequence of events that are happening, and your reaction to it can be more of a child's experience versus, beaten down person's experience. So yes, uncover the self, and you'll learn more about everything, the universe.
So good. My last question is, in your opinion, what does it mean to live life consciously?
Well, that would be to live in the light, and I feel like to live consciously is potentially to look forward and work to act on this world in a way that looks ahead of time to a place where you want to go versus where you've been. And to uncover the past is to free your future. So to live consciously, I would say most directly, is to know where you're going and getting there.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Can you please remind our listeners how to stay connected with you or access more information on the topics we've discussed today?
You can find everything out about the business at lifeenergypublications.com, where we have the books for sale. We have information on the courses, as much of the information that we can get out there for you to use as tools in your quest and journey of the self. We do as our best to put it out. In our life energy research, we've uncovered a lot of different things, a lot of amazing aspects of the person and how we operate in the world. And we are really trying to get that out to people so that they can utilize that information for their benefit. These discoveries we don't want to have buried in time. We want to be able to put it out there as freely as possible. So lifeenergypublications.com. You can look up Life Energy Publications on Facebook at Life Energy Publications. Our YouTube, we have the archive footage you can look at and listen to old seminars that my dad put out in the 80s, as well as things that were done in more recent time. All, again, in the means to give you more information, more tools in your kit to help you to on your path to self-discovery. And, of course, if you want to check out the Holistic Monitor, it's typically searched at Holistic Monitor on most social media platforms, and holisticmonitor.com as well. We have the Spotify and YouTube and all of that as well. So we'd love to have some interaction. So feel free to comment anywhere that you see Life Energy Publications or the Holistic Monitor. We'd love to hear from you.
This This has been so incredible. Everybody check the show notes for all of the links that Nic has mentioned. Nic, thank you so much for your wisdom today.
Thank you, Kristen. It was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure for us too. And thank you all so much for listening. As a reminder, if you're watching us on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe for more content and share with a friend. And if you're listening on the podcast, we would love, love, love a review. Your support in helping us grow is deeply appreciated. Looking forward to having you back for our next episode. Until next time, much love. Bye for now. Before we part ways, I want to express my deepest gratitude to each and every one of you for tuning in. Your curiosity and openness make this journey all the more meaningful. As we navigate the realms of consciousness together, please follow our podcast for more captivating conversations. If you enjoyed what you heard, why not share the love, rate and review on your favorite platform, and help us reach more seekers on this enlightening path. And hey, the conversation doesn't end here. Dive into the show notes for additional insights, resources, and details about today's discussion. Your journey to clarity continues beyond this episode. Thank you so much for being a part of the Clarity to Consciousness community. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the boundless possibilities of your consciousness. Take care and much love to you all.